You want to retrofit a Shimano Di2 electronic derailleur on your e-bike? Then in this video, I'll walk you through the process of how easily you can do that and exactly what you need to consider when ordering the specific parts. So basically, it's important to note that all Bosch e-bikes equipped with the Smart System are fully compatible with electronic Shimano Di2 shifting systems. Based on the information we currently have available, there are at this moment only specific restrictions for the PX series motors, the Performance Line Gen 5 series, as well as the Performance Line Gen 3, Active Line, and Active Line Plus e-bikes. The reason for this is simply that these specific motors are designed a bit differently and currently don't have the option to decouple the chainring from the motor. Basically, the roll shift function is not available on these e-bikes. But even if you find that you can't use the roll shift function with these specific motors, you still have the fully automatic mode available to you, of course. So when you pedal, the system also shifts up or down automatically according to your preferences, depending on how fast you're going and the preferred cadence you've set. There is also a specific restriction to keep in mind for the Performance Line Speed motors. Since these models are approved for speeds up to 45 km per hour, you cannot use the automatic shifting mode that the Bosch eShift system provides on those models. As far as we are currently aware, there are no other known restrictions for any other motors. You might be wondering, how do we know this? After all, Bosch and some bike manufacturers communicate that Di2 isn't compatible with older motors. The answer is quite simple. Behind me, you can see a KTM Machina Cross from model year 2022. The very first year the Smart System came onto the market, equipped with a 4th generation CX motor with Smart System support. And that's exactly where we retrofitted a Q's shifting system and maintained every single one of the original functions, including the automatic mode and, after all updates, the M Plus mode as well. So as of now, I can highly recommend this for these e-bikes too, which doesn't rule out future updates that might potentially change things, though I don't hope for or expect that. To actually retrofit this advanced system on your bike, you will first need a brand new Di2 rear derailleur, the correct electronic trigger shifter to operate it, and the necessary connection cable. Which specific components you will require depends, of course, entirely on what you are looking to retrofit and exactly which components are already installed on your current e-bike setup. Our KTM Machina Cross had a 10-speed Shimano derailleur shifting system with Hyperglide technology installed. What this means now is that if we want to upgrade this component, we also have to use a Di2 shifting system for the Hyperglide system. But since those specific components are currently only available for the 12-speed versions, we decided to completely convert the entire bike over to a Q's Di2 system. This simply means that in addition to the rear derailleur, the handlebar trigger and the internal connection cable, we also definitely need a brand new cassette and a matching new chain. So for you, this means you first want to be absolutely clear. Do you really want to upgrade your existing system? If that's the case, first find out exactly how many gears your bike has and what kind of specific spacing your cassette is currently equipped with. Armed with all of this information, you can then find the right rear derailleurs in our online shop. In the product description, you will always find the compatibility details showing which gear spacings the respective derailleur works with. Feel free to take a look in our shop. I have to admit, the choice is quite large here. This is why we have created various retrofit sets available exclusively in our shop, where you can simply select your group set, such as Q's, Deore or Deore XT, your specific number of gears, whether 10, 11 or 12 speed, and whether you are using a link glide or a Hyperglide system. And with that, you'll find complete sets that you can then use for retrofitting. If you do not have a compatible cassette on your bike, you can simply order the matching one that we have linked for you in the product description. You might also want to pick up a new chain too, because it is very likely that you will need to shorten it or perhaps even get a longer one. Once you have all the right parts ready, we can then start the retrofitting process right away. My approach here is to first synchronize and pair the rear derailleur with the system. I do this so that if something doesn't function correctly or a pairing fails, we haven't already gone through the whole retrofit, mounted it, routed all the cables, and then find out at the very end that it doesn't work. Therefore, first pair everything with the bike outside of the bike before we mount it. To begin, we will first connect the electric motor unit to the rear derailleur using the corresponding cable that you have ordered. In order to do this, it is necessary to remove the motor cover of your e-bike to access the various connection ports. This cable is designed such that it can be easily plugged into the designated yellow HPP port. If you have the special case where this is already occupied, for example, if you have an ABS system or a particularly powerful light that is now operated with 2 power cables, then you can create new HPP ports on your e-bike via the so-called Bosch component connector. How that works and looks in detail, I have presented to you in that video. With the Di2 rear derailleur now connected, you turn on your e-bike to pair the derailleur with the system. To do this, you also need to connect your e-bike to the eBike Flow app. By using the eBike Flow app, navigating through the e-bike settings and the components menu, you can add the rear derailleur by selecting the Other tab. Once the search process has started, you must press and hold the button on your rear derailleur for approximately 2 seconds until the indicator lights up blue. Then it's in pairing mode and will be recognized quite quickly by the Flow app and suggested to you for pairing. Simply confirm this, and in our case, after a few seconds the whole thing was already paired, and you are also able to see it listed in your bike's component list. Should there be any problems here, such as you not being able to find the rear derailleur for some reason. This could be, for example, if the rear derailleur was already connected to a bike, you disconnected it and want to reconnect it, then you naturally have to first delete it from the bike where you removed it, for example, and reset the rear derailleur once. You do this when the rear derailleur is powered by pressing the button on the derailleur for about 8 seconds until the light starts flashing green and red, then release it. And then the derailleur flashes again and you have reset it successfully, then turn the e-bike off again, turn it back on, and now the pairing should work normally, just as I explained to you. You might have to repeat this once or twice, but this simple trick has always worked for us to successfully pair the derailleur with the bike again. Next, we are going to pair the brand new shifter with the derailleur. To do this, we will need to use the Shimano eTube project app to connect with the rear derailleur. This process also works by first logging into your personal account if you would like to do so. Alternatively, you can also skip this step for now and then go to Add New Components. Then press the pairing button on the derailleur for 2 seconds until it lights up blue, and then the corresponding derailleur will be displayed in the app. After waiting for just a few more seconds, it will also say that you can register the entire setup for your account. You can simply skip the request to change the passkey, or you can change it if you want to provide an extra layer of security for your components. It then asks you to add a new control element like the trigger. You can then connect it via the dedicated QR code. Just click on it and scan the QR code on the back of the trigger. The trigger is then automatically paired with the rear derailleur. And if you want to, you can now also give it a name to identify it. I'll just call it Q's KTM Cross and also assign a picture here, so I can just assure what my rear derailleur looks like that I've installed here. By clicking register, everything is then registered in the eTube project app. And now the trigger should already be able to move the derailleur once it is powered up. You can test that out and then you will know it worked. For derailleurs that are designed to be compatible with multiple different cassettes or various gear ranges, we now need to set which specific cassette block you will be installing or have already installed on your e-bike. You can easily do this by clicking directly on the derailleur icon in the app and then simply selecting the exact one you have installed from the list of compatible cassette blocks. Once you have made your selection, the whole system will work correctly and efficiently. Next, I recommend performing any pending updates in the left-hand tab of Shimano's eTube project app, so that you have the latest software on both the trigger and the derailleur. Afterwards, you can disconnect the Shimano app and restart your bike system. The gear indicator should now appear on the e-bike display. This way you can ensure that the pairing process was successful. To install the new derailleur, which we have already paired, I recommend turning off the system completely and also removing the battery pack. The advantage of this is that it is completely de-energized, and you also have a lighter e-bike on the assembly stand, and of course you have more space to pull out the old shift cable from the shifter we no longer need. Next, you can remove the rear wheel, and my recommendation here is, if you are also replacing the cassette, to do that now so you are fully prepared for the next steps. I have linked how to do that in detail in this video. Next, we will remove the derailleur. For that, we naturally have to open the chain first, either with a chain tool or a master link, depending on how it is secured on your bike. After that, we can remove the derailleur. But before that, we have to remove the old mechanical shift cable. Just loosen it with the screw for now and leave it in the frame. We will need it in a moment. Next, we have to pull the connection cable from the motor to the derailleur through the frame, which will be the case in most instances. For this, we will make use of the old shift cable. In our case, I first pulled it completely through the frame from the handlebar, so it is only routed from the motor to the rear triangle. I then connected the Di2 connection cable to the end of the shift cable housing using a heat shrink tube, and that allowed me to pull the cable housing through the frame while pulling the new cable through at the same time. I had already removed the inner shift cable beforehand, so I didn't have to fiddle around with a piece of wire or anything like that. That was very, very practical. Once we have removed the old derailleur, we can then mount the new Di2 derailleur on your bike. Now we can already carefully plug the connection cable into the appropriate designated slot in the derailleur, then proceed to reinstall the rear wheel and properly integrate the old or even a brand new chain into the system. And here is my recommendation: if you have gotten a new chain, perhaps because you now have a larger gear range, it's better to leave it significantly longer than you might need at first and slowly work your way towards shortening it, because a chain is quickly shortened but lengthening it is always a bit difficult. So always check a bit there, how is the run in the lowest gear, is the tension high enough, and then just shorten the new chain link by link. Once we've reached the point where we've attached the derailleur, remounted the chain in the rear wheel, we can now plug the connection cable into your motor's HPP. Now you can also reinstall the cover of your e-bike to the motor so that everything is well protected again and doesn't get unnecessarily dirty, and then reinsert the battery and start the system once, and as a test you can already perform a few gear shifts to see if the whole system works. Now we just need to adjust your derailleur to your e-bike. To do this, we'll start with the upper and lower limit stops. We use the low limit screw to establish the maximum inward limit, which effectively prevents the derailleur from accidentally pushing into the spokes. By using the H screw, we limit the lower stop to prevent the entire mechanism from being pushed too far out beyond the sprocket. Next, we have a third screw on the derailleur, which we can use to adjust the specific angle of the derailleur. On the back, you will find a marking where the sprocket, or rather the ends of the teeth of the largest sprocket, should be located. Simply adjust it until it fits perfectly into place. By now, the gears should already be working reasonably reliably, ensuring that nothing accidentally slips out upwards or downwards in any way. Once that is done, in the final step, we can fine-tune the entire system using either the rear derailleur itself or the eTube project app. To achieve this, you can put the derailleur into its fine adjustment mode by long pressing the pairing mode button. This is then indicated by the system lighting up yellow. Now you have the option to move the derailleur to the left or right in the, well, millimeter or micrometer range using the trigger, and you keep doing that until the shifting system really has a nice quiet chain run and you can shift up and down smoothly. As I said, you can also just do this via the eTube project app. That's a bit more convenient in my opinion, and you have a visual of where you are right now, but that's simply left to your preferences. Our experience, or rather my experience, was that it's not that easy and you need a bit of practice. That's why there will soon be a separate video on our YouTube channel where I'll show you how to adjust the Di2 shifting system. And now you're ready for the first test ride. So head out with your bike and just use the derailleur and shift through all the gears to see if they run smoothly, and you can also fine-tune it again via the app if you like. Moving on to the next step, you can also adjust and set your preferred cadence. You can do this either via the settings menu in the ride screen using the Flow app, or if you have a display, by long pressing the menu button. Then, by simply swiping over to the right, you will enter the cadence settings menu and can set your desired cadence right here. The system then ensures that you always ride at this cadence when in automatic mode. You can easily select the different shifting modes using the third button on your shifter. You have one for shifting up and down, and the third button switches between modes. Like M for manual, meaning the system doesn't shift for you at all, so you're always shifting up and down. A for automatic, the whole shifting system does everything automatically, meaning you set your cadence as shown and the system shifts for you. You could basically throw the shifter away. Or M+ simply means you shift normally while pedaling, and only when coasting is the free shift function active. Meaning, if you are coasting downhill in a low gear, the chainring keeps turning automatically and shifts to a higher gear. This gives you maximum control while pedaling, and the system shifts when you're not. Finally, I have one more tip for you. Additionally, you can also configure the control unit via the official Shimano app and choose exactly which button is assigned to each specific function. then you're truly ready for your brand new Shimano Di2 electronic shifting on your e-bike. If you want to support our channel, please feel free to visit our shop, check out the retrofit kits, and give the video a like and a subscription. And if you have any questions about the topic, head to the comments and I'll try to answer them as best as I can.